Yes, I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show.
For years, Edd China was the calm genius behind the bench on Wheeler Dealers, the one who made impossible repairs look effortless. Then one day, he vanished. I'm afraid it's true, and I'm really sorry. After 13 years of making Wheeler Dealers, I'm now going to be leaving the show. This is the story of what happened after Edd walked away from television, disappeared into his workshop, and quietly began building something no one saw coming. They opened Edd China's garage, and what they found inside will leave you speechless. The truth, it's far stranger than fiction. The sudden exit. In March 2017, Edd China shocked fans of Wheeler Dealers by announcing his departure from the long-running and beloved Automotive series. For over a decade, the tall, affable mechanic had been the heart of the show. Renowned for his calm explanations and deep-dive mechanical repairs. But after 13 seasons and hundreds of car transformations, Edd decided to step away. And it wasn't because he'd lost interest in cars. The reasons ran deeper. Creative differences with the new direction of the show and a conflict over what Wheeler Dealers was becoming. The show, originally a low-budget UK series, had evolved into a global success. It paired Edd with co-host Mike Brewer, with Mike handling the buying and selling of used cars and Edd managing the mechanical overhauls. What made Wheeler Dealers stand out was its detailed workshop segments. Viewers saw the before and after. They learned the process, the nuts, bolts, quirks, and workarounds involved in breathing new life into a used car. That transparency, that respect for the craft became a cornerstone of the show's identity. But change was coming. In 2017, Discovery Channel announced that production of Wheeler Dealers would shift from the UK to the United States under the control of a new production company. Along with the move came a new approach to how the show would be made. According to Edd's departure video, which racked up millions of views within days, the producers wanted to cut back on the workshop segments, less of the in-depth repair footage, more streamlined edits to fit a faster pace, and tighter runtime. Edd didn't agree. In the video, he explained his reasoning with calm but firm conviction. He said the show's educational value would be diminished by this approach. The risk, he argued, wasn't just to the format, but to its integrity. If viewers were no longer shown the work in sufficient detail, the show would drift towards superficial entertainment rather than a genuine documentation of car restoration. For Edd, that was a red line, and rather than compromise, he walked. Reports from inside the industry at the time suggested tensions had been building behind the scenes for a while. The shift in production also meant a shift in priorities from mechanical detail to wide appeal, from UK roots to American Polish. Edd, who had built his on-screen persona around transparency and hands-on woodeness, didn't see himself fitting into that future. His departure caught fans off guard. Reactions were intense and immediate. Comments poured in on social media. Some angry, some supportive, many simply heartbroken. To many longtime viewers, Edd was the soul of the show. The quiet authority with which he handled everything from seized bolts to entire engine rebuilds had made him a rare kind of TV mechanic. Someone you believed, someone you could learn from. Mike Brewer also responded publicly, expressing sadness over Edd's decision and reaffirming his own commitment to continuing the show. But even as he welcomed a new co-host, former Formula One mechanic Ant Anstead, there was no question that Wheeler Dealers would be different moving forward. The chemistry between Mike and Edd had taken years to build. Their dynamic wasn't something easily recreated. Edd, for his part, didn't lash out. He avoided the drama and refrained from throwing blame, instead offering fans a calm and reasoned explanation, but the implications were clear. The version of Wheeler Dealers that had made him a household name was no longer a place where he could do what he believed in. There were also personal consequences. According to reports in outlets like The Sun and Metro, both Edd and Mike received backlash from fans, some of it vitriolic, some of it misdirected. Edd later acknowledged that his decision had stirred strong emotions. And while hesitued by his choice, the fallout wasn't teased. In interviews that followed, had described the exit as sad but necessary. A line had been crossed, and for someone who valued quality above all else, there was no turning back. And then had disappeared. For nearly a year after leaving Wheeler Dealers, Edd kept a low profile. No new shows, no major announcements. Fans wondered, what was he working on? Had he burned out? Was he done with TV altogether? The answers would come, but not yet. First, Edd China needed time. Time to reflect, recalibrate, and as we would later discover, build something new behind the closed doors of his own garage. Into the void, it was a curious and uncharacteristic absence. Edd had long been a visible figure in the automotive world, not just through the show, but via public events, interviews, and appearances at car shows across the UK and beyond. So when the updates stopped coming, speculation filled the gap. Had he quit television for good? Was he burned out? Was he working on something in secret? The questions piled up, but answers remained elusive. What is known about this period is minimal, but revealing. Edd didn't vanish completely. He just retreated inward. According to scattered insider reports and interviews from later years, he had returned to his workshop, the same garage that had birthed many of his earlier inventions like the motorized office chair and street-legal sofa. This time, however, there were no cameras rolling, no script, no external deadlines, just tools, ideas, and time. People close to Edd described him during this stretch as recharging. After years off filming tight schedules and working within the constraints of television production, he was suddenly free to movie at his own pace. And he did. He wasn't idle. Far from it. But his focus shifted. Rather than building content, he was building again for the sake of building. This was a return to first principles, tinkering, experimenting, solving problems because he wanted to, not because he had to. One of the recurring themes among those who know him is that Edd never stopped thinking. Even while out of the public eye, he was sketching, prototyping, revisiting long-abandoned projects. Some of his ideas dated back to before Wheeler Dealers, concepts that had never quite fit into the format of a show or inventions that needed time and privacy to get right. Now he had both. A few unconfirmed reports at the time suggested he was experimenting with electric vehicle conversions. This wouldn't be surprising. Edd has always had an interest in sustainability and alternative powertrains. Some even suggested he was working on a way to retrofit classic cars with modern electric drivetrains in a way thapper. His YouTube channel remained dormant. For someone so closely associated with DIN transparency, the silence was almost eerie. Occasionally, whispers popped up. A few eagle-eyed fans reported spotting him at local engineering shows or quietly attending classic car meets. These sightings only fueled more speculation. Was he doing market research? Recruiting collaborators, testing a new invention in secret? Knew for sure, and Edd wasn't saying. Still, the longer the silence stretched, the more the mystery grew. What was going on in that garage? Was Edd just enjoying a well-earned break, or wash, in typical fashion, reverse engineering something that would surprise everyone? As 2018 wore on, anticipation began to build. A few cryptic updates started to appear. Brief blog posts, mentions in interviews, subtle hints that something was coming. Edd hadn't vanished. He was just working in stealth. And then, almost exactly a year after he had left television, a new thumbnail appeared on YouTube. No fanfare, no hype campaign, just a video titled Garage Revival Episode 1. The name said it all. But before the comeback could unfold, that year off silence had served a purpose. It wasn't a void. It was incubation, and what had been brewing in the shadows off that garage was about to change everything. Garage Revival. The Workshop Awakens. In May 2018, Edd China returned, but not on television. He returned on his own terms through a self-produced YouTube series titled Edd China's Garage Revival. After nearly a year of silence, fans were greeted not with marketing hype or a flashy rebranding, but with something simpler, purer, and unmistakably addition. The concept was refreshingly grounded. Find people who had started car restoration projects and helped them finish what they couldn't complete alone. Each episode featured Edd visiting home garages across the UK, working with everyday enthusiasts whose vehicles had sat dormant for years. Whether it was due to time, technical skill, or money, these projects had stalled, and Edd was there to bring them back to life. But Garage Revival wasn't just about cars. It was about people. the show tapped into a deeper emotional thread, the frustration of unfinished dreams, the passion behind every oily frame, and the sense of relief when someone finally gets the help they need to move forward. Edd wasn't just fixing engines. He was restoring momentum. The first episode centered around a classic VW Golf GTI abandoned halfway through its rebuild. The owner, who had done everything he could with limited tools and knowledge, welcomed Edd into the chaos of his shaft-finish project. What followed was a methodical and honest assessment of the car's condition. Edd didn't play for the camera. He didn't simplify things for the sake of drama. He got on the floor, got his hands dirty, and explained exactly what needed to be done and why. That tone became the hallmark of Garage Revival. It was unmistakably authentic. No voiceovers, no canned music, just a camera, a car, and Edd doing what he's always done best, explaining complex mechanical problems in plain English. If a brake line was seized, he showed how to free it. If a gearbox was out off sync, he talked through the internal logic of how it all worked. For fans who had missed his deep dive segments on Wheeler Dealers, this was like coming. The production values were modest by design. Edd was no longer backed by a television studio. There were no executive producers steering the format, no tight broadcast deadlines. He was in control, writing, presenting, even helping direct the edit. It wasn't slick, but it was real, and that was exactly the point. The response was immediate. The first episode racked up hundreds of thousands of views within days. The comments section read like our union, fans welcoming him back, thanking him for staying true to his style, and expressing relief that his passion hadn't been dulled by the industry fallout. Some even said the show was better than Wheeler Dealers. It was more personal, more relatable, more focused on the why behind each repair. Behind the scenes, the launch of Garage Revival was also a litmus test. According to industry insiders, Edd had been uncertain about whether to return to the public eye at all. The YouTube series allowed him to test the waters without locking himself into a long-term contract. It gave him the space to experiment and re-establish a direct line to his audience without interference. It also marked a shift in how he engaged with his community. For the first time, fans could comment directly on his work and receive responses. They could suggest cars to feature, techniques to explain, or even point out details he might have missed. Over the next few months, more episodes followed. A Triumph Herald here, a neglected Land Rover there. Each story unfolded slowly and without shortcuts. These weren't flashy transformations set on music montages. These were authentic repairs with real-world constraints, improvised fixes, stubborn bolts, unexpected snags. The kind of work any DIY mechanic knows all too well. And that's what made Garage Revival resonate. It wasn't about perfection. It was about perseverance. Edd wasn't showing viewers how to build show cars, he was showing them how to get that one. Job done properly, the kind you've been avoiding for months. In doing so, he captured the spirit of hands-on educational motoring content, something that had been steadily fading from mainstream automotive media. It's worth noting that while Garage Revival didn't explode into a massive franchise, it didn't need to. It was a personal project, a way for Edd to re-engage with what he loved while staying independent, and for viewers who had followed his journey for years, it served as a clear message. He hadn't disappeared. He'd just taken a detour. By the end of 2018, Edd had proven he could chart his own course. He didn't need a big-budget studio to stay relevant. All he needed was a camera, a project worth finishing, and a reason to roll up his sleeves. With Garage Revival, the workshop lights were back on, and this time they were all his. The garage behind the doors.so. After a while, a private tour was organized. They opened Edd China's garage, and what they found inside will leave you speechless. Tucked away behind unmarked doors, past a cluttered driveway and shelves stacked with forgotten parts, is the workshop where Edd has spent years quietly building a world entirely his own. And once inside, it's hard to know where to look first. Against one wall sits the infamous street-legal sofa, a vehicle stitched together from armchairs, suspension components, and sheer eccentricity. Nearby is the motorized bathroom, a fully functioning toilet on wheels, complete with plumbing and a steering column. These weren't just gimmicks for a laugh. They were real, registered vehicles that once toured the streets as testaments to what's possible when engineering meets imagination, but amid the wonder and whimsy, one discovery stood out, and not in a good way. According to those present during a rare private tour of the garage, tucked in a dark back corner